NHS was founded after World War II and has since been providing the UK with free healthcare at the point of use. Do students think that the NHS is important?
Yes.
Absolutely, of course.
Yeah, very. I mean, if it wasn't for the NHS, I wouldn't be able to go anywhere when I got seriously injured or ill.
Yeah, I think so. The NHS has done a lot for me personally and my family, so I'm very grateful for what we've got in England.
Free healthcare. Is it not important?
Important to stay healthy.
I mean, important to stay alive for free.
I think it's like the backbone of our country. It's what makes the UK the UK.
I think a lot of people penalise it from the pressure it's under, and I think it needs more support from government.
If you're ill, they'll look after you, they'll make you better, and you're not left with massive bills at the end of it where you say you would be in other countries.
As taxpayers, we can help out, do you know what I mean? It's just nicer to kind of do that than make people pay when possibly they couldn't.
Everyone should have free healthcare, just like education. If you're ill, you should be looked after, regardless of whether or not you come from money, have money, or whether or not, yeah. Like in America, if you have money, you're fine. If you don't, then you're in trouble.
In the past 5 years, around £20 billion has been cut from NHS funding. What do students have to say about these cuts?
Why? Why?
That's disgraceful. That's really disgraceful. Because I worked in the care sector myself, and I understand the pressures of working in the care sector, and I think more funding is definitely needed, definitely for the care. People aren't getting the care they deserve.
Anyone in the UK, no matter who they are, should have availability to like the best healthcare that they can possibly have. So a cut of 20 billion will be substantial.
It's like cutting lives in a way, cutting the NHS, because you're cutting the people that are going to save lives, you're cutting the medicine that's going to help people, and the only thing that's going to happen is people will get more ill, people will die, and they could have been saved if there'd been more people around to look after them.
I suppose it doesn't directly affect me right this minute, but I'm sure it will.
But then it also affects so many other people, which is just not right. There are some things that you can cut and it's okay to cut, but there are also some things, health issues, that's someone's life.
How do you go about making industry sustainable if you're constantly cutting and pushing money into different parts of them? It just doesn't work.
The NHS has always depended somewhat on the private sector. But since the coalition government introduced the Health and Social Care Act 2012, our public service has been harmonised to be taken over by private companies, and our healthcare system is vulnerable to be sold off to multinational corporations who almost certainly will put profit before the sanctity of care.
It goes completely against what the NHS is about, really. It's supposed to be a free healthcare system for everyone. Privatisation just strips it of what it's worth.
That's another thing that people don't understand that the government's working on at the moment, is you see sort of front page news about the NHS and then you don't see all these huge companies that are lobbying to get it privatised.
Yeah, like arms companies from America trying to buy out big states.
They've already bought out academies and schools and things like that. It's like, why on earth would you want that weapons manufacturer running your healthcare system?
Well, I think there's a fine line between business and healthcare, and you sort of have to separate it.
I think it's terribly important that we keep the NHS and we just keep it free, because at the end of the day it's more about caring for others than it is just getting money out of your bank account. So
I mean, I think if you have the money, go private, you'll get better care, but for thousands and thousands of people who don't have that money, it's still good, it still does the job and it helps people out.
you could argue that it would make the system a lot better. I mean, obviously with more money it would be easier to get more staff on. Possibly privatising the NHS would help to alleviate some of the stress and strain that's put on the system at the moment.
I think then we need to look at the whole model of it and change up, make sure that's more cost effective, because there are things in the NHS which is just a lot of waste, and if we can fix those things then the NHS can be better. But I don't think it should be privatised, because as soon as you put companies in, there's other interests involved. So.
Obviously, if it was to become fully privatised, I don't think that would be good, because it would just turn into America.
The member of your family becomes really, really unwell, and then you've got financial pressure they can either get better and you lose your life savings and more, or they just have to sort of just cope with it on their own.
Having to pay for care, I think, would put a lot of pressure under the people that live here, and I think a lot of people would consider moving.
I think if that happened, I would just leave the country. I would just go and live as a goat somewhere in Yemen, probably.
What do you think? Click on the politicians to see where the party stands on healthcare. Tell us who you agree with. Don't forget to register for the general election in May by clicking here. Let your voice be heard.